There are places where power is not loud. It does not shout. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, holding everything together while no one notices. In many stories, we are told that history is shaped by kings, by leaders, by men who make big decisions in big rooms. But what if the real strength is not in those rooms at all? What if it is in the quiet corners, in the kitchens, in the hallways where footsteps never stop, and in the hearts of women who carry pain without letting? It break them dot in a grand house filled with rules, titles, and expectations. Life looks perfect from the outside. But inside, every smile hides pressure, every silence hides struggle, and every duty comes with a cost. Women in this world do not always get the power to decide everything, but they carry the burden of making everything work. When things fall apart, they are the ones who hold the pieces together without asking for credit. This is not just a story about a house. It is a story about endurance, about women who stand in the middle of chaos and still choose to keep going. Some are born into privilege, others serve behind the doors, but both share one thing. They survive in a world that never makes it easy for them. And in that survival, they become the true support of everything around them. Asterisk, the house stands large and silent in the early light, as if it has been waiting for the day to begin. Every room feels carefully placed, every object in order, every movement already expected before it happens. But behind this calm surface, there is always movement. Doors open before they are called, lights are lit before darkness can settle, and footsteps move through long corridors carrying the weight of another day dot in this world. Nothing runs on its own. The house breathes because people give it breath. And most of that breath comes from women who move through its spaces with purpose. They are not always seen as the center of the story, but they are always the reason the story continues without falling apart. Upstairs, there are women who live behind polished walls and quiet expectations. Their lives look comfortable, but comfort is not the same as peace. Every word they speak can change how they are seen. Every decision they make carries the weight of family name and tradition. They're expected to remain calm even when their thoughts are heavy, to smile even when their hearts feel uncertain. Their strength is not in freedom, but in control. The ability to hold themselves steady when everything around them demands perfection. Downstairs, another kind of strength lives. It is not dressed in fine clothes or spoken in careful language. It is found in long hours of work and tired hands that never stop moving, and in quiet loyalty that asks for nothing in return. These women keep the house alive in ways no one writes. In history, they clean the spaces where others live, they prepare the meals that others enjoy, and they solve problems before they are even noticed. Their world is built on responsibility, and they carry it without complaint. Between these two worlds, there is no real distance when it comes to struggle. Pain does not respect class. Pressure does not ask for permission. Every woman in this house, no matter where she stands, learns the same lesson in different ways. That strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply continuing when everything inside you is tired. Asterisk, the house is more than stone, wood, and glass. It feels like a living world that follows its own rules. Every hallway has memory, every room has expectation, and every person inside it knows exactly where they are allowed to stand. Nothing in this place happens by chance. It is all built on tradition, on silence, and on roles that have been repeated for years without question. In this world of Downton Abbey, life is divided into two sides, but both sides are deeply connected. Upstairs, there is wealth, name, and reputation. Downstairs, there is work, duty, and constant movement. At first, it may look like these two worlds are far apart, but in truth, they depend on each other to survive. One cannot function without the other. And at the center of both worlds are women who carry more weight than anyone sees. Upstairs, women live under a quiet pressure that never leaves the room. They are expected to represent their family in every moment, even when they are alone. A single mistake can become a memory that lasts for years. A single decision can shift how others treat them forever. They are not only living their own lives, they are also protecting a meaning that belongs to generations before them. Their strength? Comeys from learning how to remain composed when life feels uncertain. They speak carefully, they move carefully, and even their silence has meaning. But behind that elegance is something deeper. These women often carry emotions they cannot show. They face love they cannot always follow, dreams they must hide, and choices made for them long before they had a voice. Still, they continue. Not because it is easy, but because stopping is not an option in the world they live in. Downstairs, life moves with a different kind of pressure. It is faster, louder, and always demanding. The women who work here wake, up before the house is awake, and sleep long after it has gone quiet. Their hands carry the rhythm of the entire household. Every meal served, every bed made, every room cleaned is part of a system that never pauses. But within this constant labor, there is pride. A pride that comes from knowing the house would fall into chaos without them. They do not wear titles, but they carry responsibility that is just as heavy. Their strength is built in silence, in patience, and in loyalty that does not ask for recognition. They notice everything, even when no one notices them. And slowly, without anyone fully realizing it, they become the reason the entire world of the house continues to stand. In the quiet rhythm of the house, there is a kind of strength that never announces itself. It does not arrive with importance, and it does not ask to be noticed. It simply exists in everyday moments and small decisions, in steady hands that keep moving even when no one is watching. This is the strength of the women who serve downstairs, the ones who hold the house together without ever standing at its center. In Downton Abbey, life downstairs is not simple, but it is deeply meaningful. Every day begins before the sun fully rises. The air is cold, the corridors are quiet, and yet work has already started. There is no slow beginning, no gentle wake-up. The house demands action from the very first moment, and the women answer it without hesitation. They do not wait for praise or permission. They move because everything depends on movement. Among them is Anna Bates, a woman whose strength is not loud but steady like a heartbeat. She carries kindness even when life becomes difficult. Her loyalty is not based on reward, but on choice. She stands by others even when she is hurting herself. In her silence, there is courage. In her patience, there is depth. She shows that real strength is not about control over others, but control over how you treat the world when it does not treat you kindly. Then there is Mrs. Patmore, whose kitchen is not just a place of work, but a place of command. She leads without needing a title that says she leads. Her voice, her standards, and her sharp understanding of people make her one of the strongest forces in the house. In her world, mistakes are not just errors, they are lessons. She teaches that discipline is not cruelty, but care in another form. Every meal she prepares carries responsibility far beyond food. It carries reputation, respect, and the image of the entire household. Daisy Mason begins her journey with doubt and uncertainty, often unsure of her place in this world. But slowly, she learns that strength is not something you are born with fully formed. It is something built through experience. Every mistake she makes becomes a step forward. Every challenge becomes a lesson she cannot forget. She grows from someone who simply follows instructions into someone who understands her own value. Her transformation is quiet but powerful, like a seed breaking through the ground without making noise. These women do not live easy lives, but they live real ones. Their struggles are not written in books or spoken in grand speeches, yet they shape everything around them. Without their work, the house would lose its balance. Without their presence, its daily life would collapse into silence and disorder. They are not the visible face of the house, but they are its foundation, holding it steady with patience, effort, and an unspoken kind of love for what they do. Asterisk above the long staircases and polished floors, another world exists. It is quieter in sound, but heavier in thought. In this world, everything may look perfect from the outside, but inside it is full of pressure that never truly goes away. The women who live upstairs in Downton Abbey are surrounded by comfort, but comfort does not protect them from emotional weight. In fact, it often hides it even more. Lady Mary stands at the center of this world, carrying a name that feels larger than her own life. Every step she takes is watched, not only by her family, but by society itself. She cannot simply live for herself. She must live in a way that protects tradition, reputation, and expectations that were placed long before she was born. Her strength is not in freedom, but in control. She learns how to hide fear behind calm expression, how to turn pressure into silence, and how to move forward even when her heart feels uncertain. Beneath her composed face is a constant struggle between duty and desire, between what she wants and what she's allowed to want. Edith Crawley carries a different kind of weight. Her struggle is quieter, but no less painful. She often feels overlooked, as if she is standing just outside the light of attention. This feeling shapes her into someone who must fight for recognition. In her own way, her journey is not about instant confidence, but about slow rebuilding. She faces disappointment, loss, and moments where she questions her own value. Yet she continues, learning to turn pain into purpose. Her strength grows not from approval, but from endurance through rejection. Cora Crawley stands between two worlds, not fully belonging to either. She brings a sense of balance into the house, often acting as a bridge between tradition and change. Her strength lies in understanding and patience, and in the ability to see more than one side of a situation. She carries emotional responsibility quietly, often smoothing conflicts that others cannot solve. While she may not always appear as forceful as others, her influence runs deep, shaping decisions in ways that are gentle but lasting. These women do not fight battles with weapons or loud arguments. Their battles are internal, shaped by expectations, emotions, and the pressure of being seen as perfect in a world that rarely allows imperfection. Every smile they give in public may hide a private struggle. Every calm decision may come after a storm of thought. Yet they continue forward, not because the path is easy, but because stepping away from it is never truly an option. Their lives show that strength does not always look like power. Sometimes it looks like restraint. Sometimes it looks like carrying pain quietly while still standing tall. And sometimes it looks like surviving a world that constantly demands more than it gives. Asterisk in the quiet space between duty and emotion, something subtle begins to form inside the house. It is not written in rules and it is not spoken out loud, but it is felt in small moments. A look shared across a room, a silent understanding during a difficult day, or a hand offered when words are not enough. This is where something powerful grows, a connection that does not depend on status, title, or position. In Downton Abbey, women do not always stand together in obvious ways. They come from different worlds, different expectations, and different levels of privilege. But life inside the house slowly teaches them something important. Pain has no class, fear has no rank, and strength can be found in the most unexpected places. Anna Bates and Lady Mary may live in completely different parts of the same house, but their lives cross in ways that show quiet understanding. There are moments when judgment fades, and what remains is human experience. Not servant and lady, not upstairs and downstairs, but simply two women who understand what it means to carry emotional weight in silence. Their connection is not loud or dramatic. It is built slowly, through trust, respect, and shared struggles that do not need to be spoken to be understood. Mrs. Hughes plays a different but equally important role in this invisible sisterhood. She is not just a housekeeper. She is a steady presence, someone who sees more than she says and understands more than she shows. Many turn to her when situations become difficult, not because she demands authority, but because she naturally becomes a place of stability. Her strength is calm and her leadership is gentle. She reminds others that support does not always come from power. Sometimes it comes from wisdom and patience. Even moments of conflict between women in the house often lead to something deeper. Misunderstandings slowly turn into respect. Differences slowly turn into awareness. Life forces them to see each other not as rivals, but as people shaped by their own struggles. Whether it is upstairs tension or downstairs challenges, there are moments when women choose to stand beside each other instead of apart. This quiet sisterhood does not erase hardship. It does not remove pressure or change the rules of the world they live in, but it changes how they survive it. It creates a hidden strength, one that grows in shared silence and unspoken understanding. In a place built on hierarchy and expectation, this connection becomes something quietly powerful, a reminder that even in divided worlds, women can find ways to hold each other up without needing permission. There are moments in every life when silence becomes heavier than sound. Moments when the house feels still, but inside that stillness, something is breaking. In Downton Abbey, this silence often arrives without warning. It comes through loss, through scandal, through illness, and through choices that cannot be undone. And when it arrives, it is almost always the women who carry it first. Because in this world, strength is not only about moving forward. It is also about standing still when everything inside you is shaking. When crisis enters the house, it does not ask for permission. It spreads through every room, upstairs and downstairs alike, but the way it is handled is never the same. Some face it with calm control, others with quiet endurance, but almost all the women respond in a way that holds the world from falling apart completely. Lady Mary often becomes the center of responsibility during difficult times. Even when she is emotionally overwhelmed, she understands that others depend on her stability. She learns to hide panic behind logic, to replace fear with decisions that must be made. Her strength is not the absence of emotion, but the ability to act despite it. In moments of pressure, she becomes someone who carries the weight of the entire family without letting it. Anna Bates faces a different kind of breaking point. Her struggles are more personal, more private, but no less painful. She experiences moments where hope feels distant and trust feels fragile. Yet even in her darkest hours, she does not lose her sense of care for others. This is what makes her strength so human. She does not become untouched by pain. She simply refuses to let pain define everything she is. Mrs Hughes, in times of crisis, becomes the quiet center of stability. She does not panic and she does not rush into chaos. Instead, she listens, observes, and then acts with calm certainty. People turn to her because she makes confusion feel manageable. In a house filled with emotional storms, she becomes a grounding force, reminding everyone that not every problem needs noise to be solved. What makes these breaking points so powerful is not just the events themselves, but the way women respond to them. There is fear, yes. There is sadness, yes. But there is also something deeper, a refusal to let everything collapse. A quiet decision to keep going even when the heart feels exhausted. In these moments, strength is no longer about status or position. It becomes something more raw and real. It becomes the ability to continue breathing, thinking, and caring when life feels heavier than it should. And in doing so, these women reveal something important. That even when everything seems to fall apart, they are often the reason it does not fall completely. In the end, when the noise of conflict fades and the house becomes quiet again, what remains is not just memory of events, but the presence of the people who held everything together when it mattered most. In Downton Abbey, power is often seen in titles, decisions, and control, but over time, something deeper becomes clear. The real strength of the house has never only come from those who lead it openly. It has also come from those who support it silently. There is a quiet shift that happens throughout the story. It is not sudden, and it is not announced. It happens slowly through experience, through struggle, and through trust that builds over time. Women who once had limited space to influence, change began to shape the world around them in subtle but meaningful ways. Not by replacing tradition with force, but by working within it, bending it, and sometimes gently pushing it forward. Lady Mary, who once only carried the weight of expectation, begins to step into a role that is more active, more involved, and more decisive. Her strength grows not because the world becomes easier, but because she becomes stronger in facing it. She learns that leadership is not only about being seen, but about making choices that protect others, even when those choices are difficult. Anna Bates continues to represent a different kind of influence. She may never stand in formal positions of authority, but her presence changes people. Her kindness, loyalty, and quiet resilience shape the emotional heart of the house. She proves that influence does not always need recognition to be real. Sometimes it exists in the way people feel safer, calmer, and more understood because of someone's presence. Mrs. Hughes remains one of the most stable forces in the entire household. Her leadership is not loud or demanding. It is consistent, fair, and deeply human. She shows that authority can exist without domination, and respect can be earned without fear. In many ways, she becomes the quiet foundation that allows others to grow without losing balance. When all of these stories come together, a clear truth begins to form. The house does not survive because of one person. It survives because of many. And among them, the women carry a strength that is often unseen but always essential. They hold together the emotional structure of a world that would otherwise fall apart under its own pressure. The final reflection is simple but powerful. Real strength is not always the one that speaks the loudest. Sometimes it is the one that continues working, caring, and enduring when no one is watching. And in that silence, in that persistence, lies the true heart of the story.